feeling like I'm in a really great place in Ukraine, but I'm not going to allow Putin to take that away from me.
After the war has started, Maria visited Ukraine to plant her garden in Ukraine.
And I worried that if Russia took control of Ukraine, that I might not get back there because I would never go inside Russia and I wouldn't go inside Russian-controlled territories.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your guide, Olena. And in this video, I have a great honor and pleasure to introduce you an extraordinary woman. This is Maria. Hello, Maria. Nice to meet you. Hi. Maria, Times Magazine this year said that the person of the year is Ukrainian President Zelensky and the spirit of Ukraine. And you know, this award belongs to you too, because in my opinion, you represent the true spirit of Ukraine.
I accept that because I have heard that I am in the Red Book of Ukraine. I have heard that I am a Ukrainian woman. And most recently, I have been called Posto Maria, which has a couple of meanings.
When you said they call you Prosto Maria, I knew immediately what does it mean, because back in the days, this TV series Prosto Maria was so popular and each family was watching it. Me too, when I was a kid. And yeah, it's a TV series about one strong woman, and you are strong too. Guys, Maria visited Ukraine many times before the war, but she also visited Ukraine after the war has started. And basically in spring, Maria visited Ukraine to plant her garden in Ukraine. And later she came back again to Ukraine in August, right? And
Yes.
now Maria is planning to go back to Ukraine for Christmas in winter time.
Yeah.
Maria, what's happening? This is the war zone. It's dangerous. Why you keep coming back to the war zone, to Ukraine? Even though you are right now in sunny Florida at home where everything is so peaceful and beautiful.
Well, it's also my home in Ukraine that I have established since 2019, 2020. And it's also a place where 40 million people live, you know, whether it's a war or not a war, there's still life to do and life to be had. And the point of being on the land and planting and living life is what it means to be free, you know, and not be molested or disturbed in doing that. So I'm determined to do that. I'm determined not to let anything stop me. And this happened in 2020 when we had the pandemic. I couldn't get back to Ukraine. That is where I was first referred to you because you were doing some type of documentary or something about foreign people on that app in quarantine. Since then, I decided to become a resident because I said, nobody's going to lock me out of my Ukraine again or away from the land or away from the life that I have there. So I did go through a lengthy 1-year process and become a resident recently. And so that is how I'm going back to Ukraine. Not that they're barring foreigners now, because I don't believe they are. I see a lot of foreign people traveling to and fro, everybody from politicians to movie stars to aid workers to people going back to fight for Ukraine to volunteers. So I do believe that I'm not unique. It may just seem like that in my lifestyle or in my region that I'm unique because I'm not fitting in any of the above categories. And as a matter of fact, when I was on the bus from Warsaw the last time, which was in August, I was approached by many people on the bus asking me if I was a journalist because they were like, "Why else would you go here?" You know. So no, I'm not a journalist, and I've been approached before too by local council people asking me if I'm a CIA agent or what am I, because they're just kind of like don't understand me by myself out there on the land.
How did you explain them your reason to go to Ukraine amid the war?
Well, I have a responsibility, you know, because like I said, I have a ranch that I am privileged to be working on and to be living on in Ukraine. And it is the natural order of things in the village and on the land to take care of it. And it starts in the spring. And putting food in the ground is what we must do anyway to survive and to feed the community. And that is something that nature calls for. I mean, nature dictates the seasons and the plants grow when they can grow. So I needed to get back there to take care of that. And I needed to get back there too, because my community is there. And I don't want to stay away. I don't want to let anything keep me away or cause me to lose my life. That is is there in Ukraine. And I do feel that very strongly. I feel safe there. I feel that the community that surrounds me keeps me safe. For instance, my neighbor that I went back with in April, she insisted that I stay in her home when I normally stay on a shipping container on my land. And when I would go out, she was very concerned. She said, I don't want you going anywhere besides the village. This was at first, even though she was there in February when the war started, she had gone out to Poland, but she wasn't sure what to expect when we went back in April. And then I would go to town once in a while, but she was like, you must never be there when the sirens go off. We stay in the village when it happens. And, so people do look out for me and I feel safe. I found that safety as soon as I got to Ukraine. So like that community is not taken for granted here, but everywhere that I've experienced in Ukraine, um, I know that I can rely on the people to take care of me. And that has always been the case. Um, when I first went to the village after leaving my ranch, because I wasn't sure what to find when I left my ranch. And I had always gone right, which was the longer way to go to the big city, which is not that big, 140,000 people. But I decided to go left to the village, which is closest to me. And the people came out and then they realized that I didn't speak the language. So they called the person in the village that spoke English. And then everybody started to appear with bags of tomatoes and eggs and sallow and all this stuff. And then they were like, drink. And then they brought out the samahon and it was just like really a nice environment. And I was like amazed. And I was like, this is how people should live. And, this is really freedom. Whereas here, I don't feel in the US where I live in South Florida anyway, I don't feel safe at all times. And I also feel like that freedom is not really given in a lot of different ways, freedom to live with the earth and freedom to live among each other. And there's just so many things. And I see in Ukraine this fight for freedom as being like really the people know what freedom is, and really they have a right to that freedom. Whereas here in the United States, I think that people have lost sight of what that means. Like that freedom, they take it for granted, and they don't even realize like if freedom is usurped from them. And I don't know how willing people are to actually really fight for that, because we've never had that type of invasion here on our land, from our neighbor that would come and that would bomb us and kill us like that. It's been hundreds of years since, the US did their independence from Great Britain. And at that time we were fighting on this land. It wasn't even our land originally. It was the Native Americans' land. But we were here like not even for centuries, like Ukrainians. So like I don't think that Americans can really understand that. But my father was in the military and he went to war, and I drive his truck, and on the back of his truck there's a sticker that says that people who haven't fought for freedom will never understand the value of it. Like they can't fathom it. And so when you're in Ukraine, you're among people who understand that. In my village, there's two monuments. There's one for the Holodomor, and there's one for what's been going on since 2014. And I recognize all the names on those monuments because they're the names of the villagers that are currently there. So, I mean, I don't want to cry, but that's really deep, Elena. That's really deep. So, respect for that and recognition and feeling like I'm in a really great place in Ukraine. And knowing that like I too, maybe this is like a civil disobedience, but I'm not going to allow Putin to take that away from me, to take this life away from me. And I see that in my neighbors. Like they're like, hell no. My neighbor is like, I'll defend my children with a hatchet if I have to. This is my house. It took us 8 years to build it. I'm like, right,
You were in the US on the 24th of February, yes, when Russia launched
Yes,
its invasion. Do you
yes,
remember what you felt this day?
very upset because I think, like a lot of people, I wasn't sure how it would go, and I worried that if Russia took control of Ukraine, that I might not get back there because I would never go inside Russia, and I wouldn't go inside Russian-controlled territory. So I knew that that would be the end of my life there and the end of my dreams, for my life there. So and then obviously very concerned for all my friends because besides my partner's family that lives there locally, I have my village family, and then I have extended family that I've met. I've met a couple of your friends. I think I met Arena and the Obi Rock villagers, and then I also went to one of her contacts, Anastasia, and the Zeleny Kruchny or whatever, the Green Hills, which is a permaculture settlement. When I practice permaculture, so those are people I've met extensively. Then there was another person who's American who's in Rivne who's assisted me. Um, like I said, there was a lot of people from Kalush to Kiev to Lviv, and people call it Lvov, I don't know, Truskovets, like all over Ukraine, west of Kiev, that have assisted me, that have become a part of the culture there and the community that I know there. So, um, I started to get scared because I'm not even that good at geography. So I was like, oh my gosh, where's Irina? Because I thought she was in Kharkiv or the area near Kharkiv, because I got lost on the way to her village, and I think I ended up near Kharkiv. So when I heard that they were over in Kharkiv, I was really terrified and I was really worried and I was really sad, you know, not
Yeah,
knowing what could happen.
Irina, Irina is a best friend of mine. She's the godmother of Katya, my first child. She was in Chernihiv region. It's pretty close to Kharkiv, and they were bombed severely. So basically, all the villages around her and the bridges and the roads, all of that was destroyed, and they stuck in the middle in their small village. But Russian soldiers never went inside of the village, luckily, and they were able to leave. I think in March, to go
I
to
saw that. I saw
Khmelnytsky, closer to your land. Irina, right now, she's in the United Kingdom with her two sons, with two boys, and her husband is in the military, and right now he is on the very hot part of the front line.
wow. Oh, that's awful. So, well, I was worried because also, when we saw what was going on around Kiev and Bucha and places like that, like, you think the war can't reach those places that are outside the city. You think that it's just the government that's the target, or you think that it's just a military base that's the target. So that when you see that the soldiers are attacking the civilians and that people that are just living their lives in the small villages, the most kind and sensitive and just innocent people are being subjected to those things, it causes a lot of terror and a lot of fear. And I was very afraid for the people that I knew that are just living out in the country.
You went back to Ukraine in April. Was it did you have the tickets before the war started, or you decided to go after February?
No, I decided to go after, because remember, before the war started, I could fly to Lviv or to Kiev for $700 on Turkish Air from Miami. Okay, so it was very affordable and it was very enjoyable, no big deal. Miami to Istanbul, and Istanbul, you're walking around in like a shopping mall. That's the airport there. It's like so glitzy. And then you go, a short hop over to Ukraine. And then, once you're in Ukraine, you rent a car, or you hop a train, or, you know, whatever, and get to your nearest town and on to your village. So it was like that. So after February, when I said that I still have to come back, I had to get a plane to Warsaw. The prices had jumped to like $1,400, and I had to figure out what was going to be my way back into Ukraine. Like I said, I mentioned that the women of my village, because after that happened in February and they bombed our town nearby, um, I talked to my neighbor who's from Poland, and she organized something with her niece that's in Poland, and they spoke to my neighbor in the village, and I got donations here from one of my garden friends, and we sent money over there. So we got a bus, and 20 women and children went from the area of my village over to Poland. And my neighbor's niece met them, and their church and their community took them all in. It was like my neighbor's niece and another gentleman at the church went to housing and clothing and feeding these 20 people. And when my friend was like listening and saying, I think I'm going to go back. They stopped the bombing. She got a car with the help of my neighbor's niece. They helped her buy a car, and we decided we were going to drive back in. So when I went to Warsaw, I ended up in Lublin, which was the town where they were housed. And all I had was time to sleep overnight. Like I got there in the evening, they picked me up, and I went back from Warsaw Airport to Lublin, and I slept in the apartment that they had gotten donated for them. And the next morning, we got in the car and we hit the road over to Ukraine, and we were stuck in the biggest traffic jam you never want to be in. I mean, the traffic was for miles to try to get into Ukraine. So my friend had a new baby. She had a baby in December of last year. So the baby was still very young in April. And she had to drive the car. So the baby's crying periodically. You know, she decided to skip the whole line. I never saw such. She was just like, forget this line, you know, because she was just like a mother desperate to get back. And so we got up to the border, and she said to me, "You might have to drive," because she's breastfeeding and everything. So she was like, "You might have to drive so I could take care of the baby." And I was like, "Okay." Eventually, though, it started to get dark because the process was lengthy. You have to go through the Polish border and all the security there, and then you have to go over to the Ukrainian side, and there's security there, and you have to go through those border guards. So it's not just a simple cross of the border. So you know, it can take 5, 12 hours. So we started out early in the morning, and it was already dark by the time we got onto the Ukrainian side. So she had to present documents and stuff for the vehicle that she had bought in Poland too. So she ended up calling her husband, who was also working with the military, and he came out with another soldier guy and met us closer to the border, because you're not supposed to drive in the dark in Ukraine apparently, and there's many checkpoints. So we ended up getting like kind of an escort with her husband to help us through checkpoints and stuff. And I remember him saying, "This is my wife's friend, the American lady," because we have to show our passports, you know, at one of the checkpoints. So we eventually got back to her house, and it seemed like it was okay. Now since then, I've taken the bus from Warsaw. So there are buses that go to many cities in Ukraine, even all the way to Kiev, and they take forever, obviously. So I got a bus to Rivne the last time, and it was a 12-hour ride from Warsaw, and the longest time is spent at the border, going across. That was the bus ride where they were asking me if I was a journalist and stuff. But there were many, many babies on that bus, like many moms going back into Ukraine with young babies. I remember the border guard asking the driver how many passengers he has, because they account for all of them on the list. And when he said the amount, I think it was more than 60. And I think the bus is not even like, I think the bus carries 58 or something like that. And then the border guard was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah, I even have an American thrown in there." So, but there was like children and babies on mother's laps, so it was like over capacity, that bus. It wasn't. But yeah, I would have to say I was the only foreigner on there, and it was. To the Ukrainians on there was an unusual thing. I don't know all the personal circumstances of these women, if they were going back just for a visit, if they were like done with being a foreigner in a foreign country, or what the deal was. I did not have any personal conversations with any of them. You know, everybody's pretty somber on these buses. You know, it's not like it's not a festive mood or anything.
This time when you come to Ukraine in January, in winter, what do you put in your suitcase for the trip?
Okay, so I'm planning to put candles. I'm planning to put any solar powered lights I can find. I already have some. Um, have you been to Costco, or do you know what Costco is, Elena?
No.
It's like what we call a big box store. It's like a warehouse that sells things in bulk. And you should probably go there. It's pretty crazy there actually. It's just an experience. But they had this box of lights that was like a string of lights, and it has a solar collector. And so I had purchased that for the ranch, thinking I would put it out in the patio or something to provide lights. Because normally, remember, I don't live with electricity in Ukraine. My ranch has no electricity. I live what we call off grid. So I'm always looking for these types of items anyway. But this time it's going to be like more so because I have my neighbors to consider. And my one neighbor posted a funny thing on Facebook where it was like, "Oh, honey, you know, the idea for a gift is so easy this year. It could be a flashlight or a candle or a generator, you know, like these are like the desired items for Christmas type of thing." So
Maria, I wish you to have a safe trip to
thank
Ukraine.
you.
Please
Thank you.
say hello to my motherland and tell her that we will come back soon.
I know,
hopefully.
I know, I know you will. I wish I could take you in my suitcase with me too, but I know that you have many, see your little children over there to take care of. You have your new home to
I have
explore.
some children attached to me,
I see
but
that. Yes, this is definitely this is definitely I've been told not a place for children in this war situation, and listening to your videos and how it's affected your children. Like I could definitely agree to that, and I'm so glad that they have you here and that they can see you relaxed and they're relaxed and there's no sirens or crazy things happening in their world at this time. Yeah, if you have a suggestion for somebody that wants to come to the US, let me know. I don't know anybody personally yet, and I had been kind of, like I said, kind of keeping the space available in case anybody had that need. But I haven't really heard that great need yet. Um, somebody that's a friend of a friend would probably be the next option for me.
ironically, now I know more Americans who want to become a host family than Ukrainians who want to become a refugee here.
See. And like I would not disagree with that because the life there is so completely different and so superior in Ukraine. And Ukrainians are so wealthy compared to Americans, and it's a different kind of wealth. It's a wealth that I think most Americans do not understand, Elena. And it's a wealth that I've been able to glimpse. And then, like I said, I'm fascinated by it and I'm enjoying being a part of it, enjoying being adopted by my new country in Ukraine. So yeah, that's all good stuff. So maybe the world will create that wealth for themselves at some point when they understand that wealth, if they can ever understand it. But definitely, I hope that this war can end soon and that we can all get back to creating things in Ukraine, the Ukrainian way, and having a good life there.
Maria, maybe can you like show us around? What do you have around the house or
You
your
mean
partner, if you feel like? I mean,
all
or
my
if
plants? You mean?
your garden,
Oh
whatever.
my gosh, it's huge.
The
Like, okay,
patio.
so there's like
No, there
everywhere
is a
you look,
real
it
home.
looks like a jungle, you see?
Jungle. This is the jungle. We
Welcome
have
to the jungle. So
more like our
I don't
side
know.
too.
A lot of the food that I have, it's edible food. We have what do you call coming up soon? We have Christmas coming up soon. So I have poinsettia out here, but like I have stuff like this is onion chives, and this is like a ground cover. This is a wild lime. This is where there's a certain caterpillar called an orange dragon, and he turns into giant swallowtail. He eats this wild lime. And then this is called a light bulb plant. This plant, you can use it to ward off mosquitoes. So all you have to do is rub this leaf and a chemical comes out that's called a beauty berry. And then there's this palm. It has a vanilla orchid on it. And this plant is from Jamaica. This is like my thing is plants. This is a mango tree. It's not mango season now, but mangoes come off of this tree. This is a peppercorn vine. You see, there's like a little peppercorn coming out on it. So this is like the peppercorn that you would then eat like a spice. And then this is a breadfruit tree. This tree is from Jamaica. They only grow in like Jamaica and Puerto Rico, but we can have it here because we're a tropical weather. And then whoa. And then this is an oregano. Some people could say that you can use this for toilet paper, but it's very fragrant like oregano. And then there's this like character bush. There's just a lot of color. This is a neem tree. This tree has that as a pest control, and it's also good for skin. And then there's another coconut palm, and this is a giant mulberry bush here. This is a white queen mulberry here, and then there's some banana trees. This is like a swing set thing that my kids had, and then I had a little chicken coop. So it's just basically my personal jungle thing going on here. It's like a plant city here. So, but it's not a big jungle. I'm in an urban area, so it's literally like just the size of a lot to have a house on it. You can barely see my house in there. You see how my house is covered in plants? So that's how I like to live. It's very cool because here in Florida, it's very hot. So when you have all these plants around your house, it keeps your house cooler because it provides shade and the sun can't directly hit the walls of your house. The houses are here are made of concrete blocks because they're strong in a hurricane. Because when a hurricane comes, it will blow down like a wooden house or a weaker structure. So we have houses that are literally built like bunkers over here. It's very comfortable in the winter though. It's definitely a nice place to be in the winter, but there's a lot of lizards down here for your son that likes the alligators. He'll love all the lizards here. There's curly-tailed lizards from Bahamas. There's a lot of invasive lizards here. There's geckos, there's like salamanders, there's like monitors, which are kind of aggressive, but there's iguanas, which we don't like because iguanas eat our food. And then the alligators don't live in my neighborhood, but they live out west in the Everglades where you're gonna go see. But I'll definitely get some pictures at my dad's house, which is the house that you're gonna come stay in. When you come, I'll show you where you're gonna stay. And you'll have fun there. You'll have fun. Well, I have a garden around there too. I have a red banana tree there, and I have a soursop tree and a mango tree and an avocado tree and some sweet potatoes in the ground. It's a little jungle there too, so the kids can have fun exploring and finding lizards over there. So when your host family can stand to give you up for a couple weeks, you can come exploring over here.
Thank you, Maria. It's very cool invitation indeed.
You're welcome. See how warm it is here. See how green it is here. This is like a year-round type of environment. So when you get cold up there, you just come running over here and you can live like a bumblebee for a little while, you see?
Now, when 2 years ago you contacted me for the first time to help you, with COVID rules to get into Ukraine, who could imagine back then that we will be talking to you, here in the US, and you will be inviting me to your home in Florida now, and that there will be the war in Ukraine. So we don't know what happens next year, like absolutely. We don't know what's in the future, but I have a strong feeling that the future will be good, that Ukraine will win, Russia will be defeated, because this is the only will be killed for sure, because this is how it should be. So it will be all okay.
Well, I'm not afraid. You know, the funny thing is that before the war started, I noticed that Ukrainians have a way of saying that a lot. Like, everything will be fine, everything will be good. And I started getting like sometimes not happy with that response, because I really always believe it when they told me that. And then I would see, let's say the work would take extra long, or whatever the situation wasn't seriously resolving. But it seems to be a way of not only coping, but like a national spirit in Ukraine, that all is well, all is good. And now they say everything will be Ukraine. So I literally noticed that spirit is like lifting up Ukraine in this war, and it will carry Ukraine through to be victorious in this war. So with that good feeling and that confidence too is what definitely helps me feel very calm and cool. I have a video which I wish I could have shared with you, because it was on my old phone, where I told you I can't even figure out how to get into the Google Drive now to uncover my videos. But I have a video when I was in the town and the air alarm was going off, and I was in a cafe with one of my military friends, and I started freaking out. I was like filming, and then the air siren came off, and I started freaking out. Like, thought I was seriously going to die. And he was laughing, and he was saying, "Oh, we're not concerned with this at all. Look at the barista. She's still back there making the coffee. Like, do you see her running away?" And I was like, "But you don't understand. I'm an American. We're not used to these air sirens." But it's like the strong will and the courage and everything. It gives me such a confidence and a peace and a ease and a peace of mind that why am I panicking kind of thing. I still panic, but basically that is why I say, like, I get my courage and my confidence from my community there and from the people there. They're not freaking out, and so I feel like I can trust in their confidence that everything will be okay, and that we are going to get through this war. Yeah, so the Ukrainian people, they haven't wavered in their faith and their strength and their hope, and so he's not winning the war. He'll never win the war, and physically, let's hope he'll be done soon.
We will never say goodbye to each other, I feel.
I'll talk to you later, big baby. You cut a lot of this stuff out when you edit. That will be a good idea. See, I gave you lots of stuff to edit out. I'm trying to figure out how to hang up. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.